Nu metal is classic rock, no matter how much you disagree. Yes, nu metal has now reached the heights of previous genres of music such as grunge, glam, thrash and groove metal, as well as the original classic rock and classic metal from the 60s, 70s and early 80s, in that they're now classic music. A lot of people will disagree and say nu metal is trash, isn't good, etc, etc, but the fact of the matter is there is a lot of evidence to the contrary. Lots of nu metal is played on the radio and is instantly recognisable. You go to rock bars and play Rollin' by Limp Bizkit, Freak on a Leash by Korn, Crawlin' by Linkin Park and many others, and watch the people rock out and sing along. There's also stats from Spotify. Bands like Limp Bizkit and Korn have higher monthly listeners and their top songs have more streams than those of Lamb of God and even Iron Maiden. Yes, people will make excuses, but the facts are there. That and nu metal's influence is being felt with new bands and artists coming up. It was also the gateway genre that got a lot of people into heavy music. And even now, on the festival circuit, nu metal bands are still prominent. Some can even get onto the main stage of the big festivals like Download, Rock and Ring and Reading and Leeds, even being second or third headliner, sometimes headlining the second stage or headlining smaller festivals. While it is hard to fully categorise what is nu metal, the previously mentioned Korn and Limp Bizkit are definitely seen as nu metal bands. Other bands have had the label attached to them such as Slipknot, Disturbed, Evanescence, System of a Down and many others. These bands, one could argue, are more alternative metal, but they certainly had nu metal stylings, especially on their early releases, such as the vocal style and guitar work.
Did you never give a damn in the first place? Maybe it's time you where the tables turn, cause in the interest of all involved, I got the promise all. Oh, wake me up inside. Wake me up inside. Wake up. Run, rush, and put a little makeup. I just have to be.
And then there are the bands that started off as nu metal, that went into a more alternative sound. Bands such as Linkin Park.
It starts with
one thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind.
Let mercy come and wash away what I've done.
Like Deftones.
This ain't no motherfucker. Stick up in the stick of it. Bunch of bubble gold. Wanna go like that? Do they like? Do they fucking?
And Papa Roach.
Suffocation, no breathing. Don't give a fuck if I cut my arm bleeding. This is my last resort. Whoa, I never give in. Whoa, I never give up. Whoa, I never give in. I just wanna be loved.
In regards to musicality, the general consensus is the genre focuses on heavy guitar riffs with little to no solos, groove-laden bass and drums influenced by funk and hip-hop. Vocals are rhythmically influenced by hip-hop, but can be sung and screamed. Some bands do feature rapping, however. Some of these bands have used DJs as well to add an extra layer to their music, most notably Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park, and Slipknot as well if you count them. Nu metal took a lot of influence from the rap and hip-hop genres, most notably bands like Beastie Boys, Public Enemy and Run DMC, who all did crossover work with rock and metal bands, Slayer, Anthrax and Aerosmith respectively, as well as solo artists like Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, as well as funk rock bands like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Faith No More, as well as arguably the true nu metal precursor, Rage Against the Machine. Now what is it about nu metal that a lot of people hate when the previously mentioned bands are seen as classic bands in their own right? Is it the music? It can't be that. Musically, pretty much all the nu metal bands of the 90s and early 2000s wrote some killer songs, with lots of intricate groovy parts and cool riffs.
Are you ready?
And even the parts you would consider simple sounded good, and simple is never bad. See punk bands. Well, one of the reasons seems to be the lyrical content. Limp Bizkit is a prime example of this. The lyrics to songs like Break Stuff, Nookie and Rollin' aren't exactly deep.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up. Everything is fucked, everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet is to stay away, motherfucker. It's just one of those days.
But then again, the Red Hot Chili Peppers aren't exactly known for their A-grade lyrics.
What I got, you got to give it to your mama. What I got, you got to give it to your papa. What I got, you got to give it to your dog, to your
yet people still love them. Another reason is the personality of some of the members of the band. Again, Limp Bizkit have to be brought up, as frontman Fred Durst gets a lot of hate thrown his way for being a douchebag. But then you get instances like Mike Patton from Faith No More mocking the Red Hot Chili Peppers members for having drug problems. This was done because the Chili's had gotten his band Mr. Bungle kicked off some tours. Bit of an overreaction, I'd say. Another instance is Tim Comerford from Rage Against the Machine crashing the stage when Limp Bizkit won an MTV Video Music Award in 2000, beating out Rage Against the Machine for the award.
The MTV Video Music Awards are known for their surprises, and Thursday's show is no exception. Rage Against the Machine bassist Tim Comerford was arrested after he disrupted the show by climbing part of the set.
And we got a madman.
I wanted to bring the whole thing down, but they didn't move. In my mind, I visualized the whole structure on the ground, and the next time they came out from commercial break, I wanted people to see destruction.
This guy is rock and roll. He should be getting the award.
Also in 2015, in an interview with Rolling Stone, he apologised for Rage influencing Limp Bizkit, saying, "I do apologise for Limp Bizkit, I really do. I feel really bad for that we inspired such bullshit." Further stating, "As far as I'm concerned, we're the only one that matters." This was done because Limp Bizkit had covered Killing in the Name and Fred Durst gave his appreciation for Rage. Now if that doesn't sound pissy and pretentious, I don't know what is. In regards to influence, nu metal has an extensive one. Many rock and metal bands of recent years have cited nu metal bands as influences, as well as incorporating nu metal stylings in their music. Bands like Suicide Silence and Of Mice and Men added nu metal stylings to their music, having previously been deathcore and metalcore respectively. Also, bands like Attila, Immure, Fever 333, Activist, Issues and Volumes draw heavily from nu metal. As well as the trap metal genre, artists such as Scarlord, Suicide Boys, Ghostmane, Bone Crew and Horror. A lesser known influence nu metal, particularly Korn, has had is the use of 7-string guitars. Yes, there were people using them before, but Korn helped popularise the use of the 7-string guitar, and by extension 8 and 9 strings. This paved the way for the creation of the djent subgenre, one of the more popular metal subgenres today. So nu metal is classic rock. Whether you like it or not, its influence on popular music is far-reaching. So for those of you who say it sucks, just remember how much influence the genre has had and how good it sounds, and how some of your favourite modern bands might not be here without them.